kick us off, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and talk about Heart of Agile and how it's come about?
Sure. I'll see if I can find a few things maybe that are a little bit less known about me than otherwise. People wouldn't maybe know that I actually started off as a hardware designer, and my very first assignment was designing supercomputers for computer graphics. So I'm a computer graphics specialist from way back. And then I was never really a super programmer, but my next assignment was building a small, at the time, kind of an AI system for people designing network protocols. And that got me into Smalltalk, and Smalltalk got me into teaching Smalltalk. And then I was hired in kind of my current formative job, which was to create a methodology for Smalltalk and C++ projects in the 90s. And that eventually, after really a decade of that, co-authoring the Agile Manifesto. And then after a decade of that, realizing that we needed a simplification of the Agile stuff. And these days, I'm pretty much a nomad, and I travel around the world picking fun places to stay for a few months, like Melbourne in particular. So this is my fifth year coming back to Melbourne. I just love it here. So I have a suitcase and 2 backpacks, and that's basically all I own. And I go from place to place telling stories about what happened elsewhere. It's kind of like being a bard, in the old sense. I really feel so. So what does a bard do, or did a bard do in the days when those things were? Well, they did 2 things. They would sing songs and tell stories and remind people of the old stories, the values, the roots of their society. That's what they would do. And then they would tell stories about what's happening elsewhere in the world. They would tell stories about what they saw in other cities and towns. And that's pretty much what I do these days. If you think about it, I talk about the origin of the, this agile world, the stuff that happened in the 90s that we saw that led us to write the manifesto. So that's like the old stories, the roots, the values, remind people where it came from and how it got there. And then I tell stories. I was in Amsterdam and what I saw there, and then I was in Melbourne and what I saw. So I tell people all around the world about companies that I see here in Australia, because otherwise the news doesn't get out. And I go, look, Australia's got a couple of companies that are up there like Spotify and so on. They just haven't been written up. So that's what I do. I'm kind of a modern day bard. That's kind of my role right now. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. I'd never actually thought of it that way. That's quite funny, actually. But I guess you're just trying to drive collaboration across international markets and across multiple workforces, really, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring that up, because I've lived my whole life in different societies, different countries, different cultures. So yeah, very much when you talk about collaboration, trying to get cross-cultural, whether it's across specialties or across nationalities, cross-cultural collaboration is kind of my hallmark theme. Yes.